Hello, Professor Gallo. So this week I thought I would answer question 3. So a lesson that was very successful for me was probably my first one that I taught to second grade, which was teaching them how to identify quarter notes, eighth notes, and a quarter rest. I think I talked about this in class, but it was the one that so far has gone really well. Not that others have not gone really well, but this one just particularly I felt flowed and each activity made sense. So the lesson basically starts off with me telling a story about the lesson starts off that I ask the kids what their favorite animal at the zoo is. Who likes to go to the zoo? What's your favorite animal? We list a couple of different animals. Then I talk about what my favorite animal is. I tell this story about how I go to the zoo, and when I go to the zoo, I see that my favorite animal, the brown bear, always looks really lonely and sad because he's sitting there, usually by himself, in the exhibit. And so I go up to him and I sing to him and ask him what he sees around him, using the song, classic Brown Bear, what do you see? And I tell the story in a way that they hear the verse a couple of times, so they get it in their ear, trying to set them up for success. And then I teach them the song. I have cards that I made with the words, and then bear heads to represent the different notation. So a normal bear head is a quarter note. Two little bear heads are eighth notes. Then there's a bear head that has his paw over his mouth, and that's a quarter rest. So I teach them pitch-wise by rote while they look at the notation on the board. And then we talk about what they think each of those different bear heads means. Like, I ask them, do they see anything on the board that's different? They almost immediately identify all three. And they also have all been able to identify what each means, which I think is really great. And some of them, because they take piano, have been able to identify the actual name of what that is. And so then I'll pull up cards that I have of the corresponding music notation. We say, this is a quarter note, this is an eighth, these are two eighth notes, this is a quarter rest. And then we sing through it again, having them look at this new notation. And then after that, because that does take a fair amount of time, we go into this brown bear game where each of the students, I pass out the animals, and we have this saying, you get what you get. So the teacher says, you get what you get, and the students say, and you don't get upset. It's really wonderful. So I just walk around and I pass out animals to each kid, and I tell them to think of what their animal name is, and then one word that describes it, be it color, be it size, be it some aspect of the animal that they find interesting. And then table by table, they go over to the carpet, sit in a circle or an oval. It's usually just more like an oval. And what we do is you supplement brown bear with whatever animal has its turn. And that animal then, so you go, let's say it's a yellow duck, you go, yellow duck, what do you see? And then the yellow duck responds, singing alone, I see ya, and they look around the circle for someone else's animal. Let's say they see a blue jay. I see a blue jay looking at me. And then the whole class goes, blue jay, what do you see? And it goes around the circle until every student has called the other students' animals. So once you have your turn, you put your animal behind your back so you can't go twice. And I think the kids just responded really well. I think I have to be careful of not going over my time. Yeah, okay. I'm doing all right. So I noticed in the last three videos I've just gone over my time. One thing that I did modify this past week is I totally switched the events happening in one of my lessons. So the following up lesson that I'm doing, and I think I also mentioned this in class, to that brown bear lesson is one where we the students actually get to experience drawing the notation and creating their own rhythm patterns with the notation. And the way I was sequencing it was drawing from last week's lesson, like, what did we learn? We learned about quarter notes and eighth notes. What does that mean? And they can identify the meaning. And then I give them a chart where they have a picture of a quarter note, and they have a picture of two eighth notes, and then a whole bunch of boxes. It makes sense in that it's like, it's 4 across and then 5 down in a grid. So when it's 4 across, that's one measure, and then it goes down by 5, so they can create 5 rhythms. And I just have directions of, in each box, choose either, a quarter note or 2 eighth notes, and then they make their own rhythms. The first class I had no problem with that. They did it, and then they could clap out their rhythms fairly easily. The second class that I had, not a lot, but like at least 4 of the students, and there were about 16, said that they didn't know what the eighth notes sounded like. Even when I tried to prompt them to try and like pull from what we learned, they couldn't get it. So I decided to switch up the lesson, because the lesson continues. So they create their own rhythms. I call on a couple to give an example. We clap through it together, and then I play the Sousa March, which they all love, and like explain like what the Sousa March is. It's the United States March. And then we just clap some of their rhythms to the music and see how well it fits. And they get super excited about it. The first class did really well. The second class, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to clap different rhythms and just drawing, that they didn't have that much time at the end. And I decided that I think it would be easier if we instead started off the class, identifying what we had done in the Brown Bear lesson, and then playing the Sousa March from the beginning without seeing the sheet or anything, and having them tap the beat, and then tapping the eighth notes, either on their chest or on their desk, whichever worked best. I wanted to start with chest, but if they like get weird about it, I'll switch to desk in the next lesson. Just so they get a sense of eighth notes and quarter notes, and like I'll explain to them, so that beat you're feeling is the quarter note, and the double, twice as fast, is the eighth notes. So then they know what it feels like, and then they can more easily write rhythms. So then you would do the Sousa March at the beginning, tapping that, then give them the sheets, let them make their rhythms, then go back, let them explore that while playing the song, and we all clap together. I think it would just be setting them up for success. So yeah, I totally like switched the chain of events there and added in a different step. So just better ways to help facilitating the students in their learning. So yeah, that's my answer to question 3. Hope you're having a good week, and happy Valentine's Day. Thank you. Bye.